And as we move on to our next story, I want you to look at some reports. This is the World Press Freedom Index for 2023. It was released by Reporters Without Borders. It ranks India at 161st position, lower than the likes of Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Tajikistan. There's another one. This year's Freedom in the World Index gives India a score of 66 out of 100. It places India in the partially free category. It is, by the way, the same status that India had when the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi imposed emergency in the country. How is the freedom that Indians enjoy today comparable to that period? And the same report, by the way, gives Northern Cyprus a score of 77. It categorizes the territory as a free democracy. But in truth, Northern Cyprus is only recognized by Turkey. No other country, not even the United Nations, recognizes it as a sovereign state. How is this justified? And there's more. This is the Global Hunger Index for 2022. India ranking 107. Lower than Bangladesh, lower than Pakistan, which was pounded by massive floods in the same year, and even lower than Sri Lanka, that faced its worst economic and political crisis. Do you see something here? I'm, of course, not trying to show India in a bad light, far from it. I'm trying to highlight just how these indices have been targeting India, trying to portray India in a bad light. The figures and the rankings just don't seem to add up. They are compiled by a group of think tanks in the North Atlantic, sponsored by a handful of funding agencies and sold to the whole world like concrete facts. For the most part, they are agenda-driven and neo-colonial. And India has decided to push back now. The Cabinet Secretariat has taken up the matter. In fact, it has held over a dozen of meetings and workshops, even set up index monitoring cells. Over the last year, it has found several flaws in the way these indices are put together. You heard that right. Even global institutions like the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations Development Program have gaps in their methodologies. They are not as sacrosanct as you are led to believe. As I told you, most of these opinions come from Western think tanks. They are the perceptions of only a few experts. But the World Bank picks them up. It puts them into the World Governance Index, and the ratings then get hardwired into decision making. They dictate how the rest of the world perceives India and ultimately affect the economy. You see, the indices are not just for narrative building. They have clear and direct impact on trade, investment, and other growth activities of India. Bad ratings and low rankings raise questions on India's economic and political stability. And all this based on what, really? Western institutions provide their expertise, but they do not provide any transparency on how the experts were chosen, what qualifies them to have a say in the matter. Their nationality is never disclosed, and yet global institutions simply take their word for it. It's not just me who is saying this. India's economic advisors have raised similar concerns. So what really is the way out? First of all, these institutions should offer more transparency. The likes of the World Bank, World Economic Forum should exercise greater scrutiny. While perception-based indices should not be ignored, they should be taken with a pinch of salt. Secondly, experts say independent Indian think tanks should also compile similar reports for the world. It would not only break the monopoly of the Western institutions, but also put forth the Indian perspective. As far as other indices are concerned, India is bracing up for them and will be watching them closely. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.